Oh boy. Happiness comes from within. Bazarin will happily show you how to achieve it. He is rooted in happiness so he doesn't be a blip of humanity. But then again, he was born smiling. All he knows is to be happy. From atrocity to atrocity, he will still find a happiness that helped him become mighty enough to defend all happiness. It could take an uppercut, a neck targeted body slam, a beam of star energy, a gravity slam, or something giant crashing onto the battlefield. He will use everything he can to protect happiness. He will not kill, though. He has taken enough lives so that everyone knows his legendary power of uplifting the good side of the justice system. After knocking major sense into infidels, he'll be at infirmaries helping them heal from the onslaughts he provokes, just to try a different way of bringing them to the good side of the justice system. Yo, Terrence Prescott, born is, and I'm here to talk about Bazarin. Birth name is Rodrigo Zozir Lelso. Superpower is Magistry, which is the spellbinding superpower of magic in the Charleston era. His categories are enchant, astronomy, psychic, and whatchamacallit. Fighting techniques are insane and Krav Maga. A weapon of choice is a spirit mallet named Blisso Lopres. Nature is lawful good. Age is 35. Height 6'6". Weight 317. He's of Lebanese descent. He was born at Sevaklos, Sidon, Lebanon, of Mokrit, which is a continent of planet Carlazan of Solar System 5. Occupation is traveling and adventuring mage of the Exovelor Coven. Birth date is August the 8th. He's a Leo. O negative blood. He's a homosexual. Good orderly direction is the overall religion. He does secrets, even though he's deeply appreciative of how humans have made machinery that gets rid of all of the debris in outer space. He will randomly go out in space with a coin and flip it into outer space. All of Bazarin's power can be summed up by how he enchants his own vessel. He puts his existence bending spells directly on his muscles, from head to toe before going on a mission. Usually done when he's in underwear before suiting up. He'll hold up either finger, say a spell, and place his colored fingertip on whichever muscle he wants to hold the spell for usage later. Now that looks like, he'll hold out his hand, face his fingertip to his face, say abracadabra or something, and the fingertip will change color, and then he'll place it on his bicep or his tricep, on his calves, either side of his thigh, and whatever he said to say the spell, it will have a code word for it to activate. And it's a lot of different spells because he's basically considered a one-man army kind of mage, and he has endurance spells, replenishing spells for his digestive system, so he has enough fuel to continue on breathing spells so he can breathe in gases that are harmful to the human body, weather negating, so he can be out in outer space that beyond freezing temperature and stuff like that. All kind of spells to help him stay alive, be fortified, be a tank, revitalize him and things like that. But moving along to his physical description, hair color is blue violet, hair length is short crop into short curls, facial hair is buzz cut beard, eyes a spring with hot spring rims. His eyes are very light green, very light green. Body type is buffed wrestler type, heavyweight. Skin tone is pale tumbleweed. Physical condition, fit like a titan and a lumberjack, equally built in strength and speed. Marks, scars, and tattoos. Bazarin's body is very formidable. It's hard to scar his body in any circumstance, even if anti-super being material is around. He has at least 18 scars up and down his body. The most significant is the one on his left arm from a spaceship laser when he was working on moving something outside of a spaceship so it can function at a 100% capacity again. The attack on a space vessel resulted in him almost getting decimated by a laser from another spaceship. The cuts on his left arm range from shoulder to the forearm. and he has no tattoos. Clothing. Bazarin's favorite color is yellow. Was yellow before the blessing as well. Used to wear a lot of yellow shirts as a child and mostly wears yellow attire as an adult. The garbs of his coven resemble gilt robes from Mabinogi. They are in the colors of yellow, purple, and midnight, which is his usual choice of colors for clothing. Regardless of where he is around the universe, you will see him in his costume or those colors in the usual clothing of that region. His costume looks like general garbs over a power suit underwear. His power suit underwear is midnight and covers his entire body except for his neck and dome. His costume looks like padded night soldier. No, it looks like a padded night soldier, and he has a cape. Correct something real quick. The emblem of Exovalar is the letter E within the letter X, and is usually in midnight colors. They can be seen on his left chest plate and the back of his cape. The padding is yellow, the accents are midnight, and the cape is purple. The cape lengthens to mid-thigh range and has the width from in between the shoulders. When he's not active and just waiting for action, the cape is sucked into the costume, but the second he wields his mallet, the cape unzips out. Moving to his personality, likes his fathers. Literally every hero he comes across, every last one of them. Partying, mass laughter, adventuring, casting spells for the less fortunate, sharing the wealth, singing, innocence, Scarro's cookbook, Wink's cookbook, Yummers, La Slushy, Yalla Yums, racing, acting up, dancing, unsolved mysteries, dislikes, children in pain, children in captivity, lost in space victims, and witch hunters. Fears, seeing a child that needs to be saved and not taking every opportunity to save that child. Hobbies, giving away stuffed animals. Spell training, power training, doing push-ups for an hour straight, competing with comedians, might testing, endurance testing, cooking, space tripping, hiking, watching men get undressed and dressed. Goals: to find the love, like the love his fathers have, and to be the king, and to be the next king of the Exovalar Coven someday. Occupation: traveling and adventuring mage of the Exovalar Coven. Favorite food: ambrosia, pineapple, mango, rice, rabbit. Least favorite food: finger foods. Most prized possession: when they were 23, Galagos and Bazarin were on a specific space colony of Solar System 8, handling bounties as much as they could, then got caught up in a special bounty that revolved around them having to leave the manned galaxy to venture into one of the many galaxies between the manned galaxies. They were asked to be a part of a scavenging detail that dealt with finding survivors of a recent huge space battle between two companies. Two companies of many that battled it out because of another bounty that required joint forces, making the best of a gathering mission. Galagos and Bazarin bonded again during this scavenging mission, especially the times when they had to deal with space pirates that were being too nosy. When they got into a space battle with several groups of space pirates, they ended up boarding several different pirate fleets. Through all of the teleporting between vessels and fighting to survive their asses off, they rescued about 7 children that would grow up in blips of humanity situations. To hopefully keep 7 children from becoming villains, one of the kids told them they should go to a vote on one of the pirate vessels. Galagos wasn't feeling it because even though they had more muscle than just the two of them, they needed to teleport back to their spaceship before they got left behind. Bazarin really wanted to see what the child was talking about. The child was talking about something his mother gave him before he was forced to be on pirate vessels, getting his chops in, as well as some other things that they needed so the kids could be completely safe. The child got his present from his mother, and within a jewel box was a stud of a teddy bear with a paper bag on his head in figurine form. The child said that Bazarin could have it once they got back to Solar System 8. Then Galagos and Bazarin went back over the next 2 months to rescue all of the children's parents that could be saved. Bazarin keeps that figurine in his bedroom on an Apple's Brigade block spaceship because he was able to save a few families, mostly so because when the mother was reunited with that specific child, the child gave him a huge hug after he gave his mother a hug, then said, "I want to be like you when I grow up." And then Gallagher said, "I think I'll start taking more time with saving children now." From the innocence to one of his friends, he connects that figurine to the both of them and thinks about that moment a lot. Vernacular, deep brooding Lebanese accent, aptitude, IQ equals 188, equally book smart and street smart. His mind is best suited for adventuring. His mind, if I can talk right, that was supposed to be a pause. His mind is best suited for adventuring. His mind has a pristine memory that works well with magic, with maps, geography, agriculture, surviving in the wild, navigation, and rationing the resources. Surviving to him is quite easy, and he has a lot of flesh to prove it. As big as he is, he does need a lot of food to nourish his entire vessel, but can go long bouts without food in general. He is a very big mind over matter kind of person, as well as being able to keep anyone alive if they are accompanying him on ventures. Psychological condition, completely sane. Although his resting face is him grinning ridiculously hard, he is not crazy, still completely sane. His happiness simply comes from knowing he can survive most things, and he will see all of the worlds of the current day and age. He has barely any frets about anything. He is always satisfied even when facing powerful foes and are getting handled by powerful foes. Hold on for a moment. Alright, character behavior. About that life. Wild, altruistic, powerful, cool, and charming. Relationships. None specifically. Bazarin has several crushes amongst his peers. He has adventured with plenty of them over the years, and he never takes those times for granted. He incorporates every last piece of advice he's gotten from all heroes that welcome him to the fold, and will take advice from anyone he closely knows, then fall in love with them just a little bit more. His biggest crushes are Metalhead, Zero Skies, Scarrose, Power Depot, Blur, Vibros, Crater, Burn Vote, and Galagos. Big educated on Galagos and is determined to make him his. And you're about to find out why. Social and other pressure problems, none really. Beliefs and morals. Bazarin doesn't believe in killing. He has many spells for subduing targets and their underlings. Has a very sweet voice when he delivers his incapacitating spells to enemies. Makes it easier for them to be hypnotized into slumber for however long he says the spell will last. It's like he's slightly singing opera when he's preparing to put someone in a hypnotic or sleep state. Taking lives is beneath him, but delivering the pain is not at all. He is just, by himself, he can fuck up a lot of things. I mean, he ain't as big as the Hulk, but he would outdo the Hulk easily. He ain't as big as Potemkin, but he would do more damage than Potemkin, right? He ain't as ugly as Mr. Potato Head, but his longevity can outlive Mr. Potato Head. He is very dangerous, alright? He's like that one moment on Alphas when Bill Harkin was talking to Cat, and Cat was hypnotizing him to unlock his power, right? And he fucked up that whole floor. This Bazarin with one punch consistently has no issue of delivering the pain. That man is dangerous, alright? Now, positive characteristics. Always in a good mood, always satisfied, always willing to share the wealth, will do as he is commanded on a battlefield because he's best suited with taking orders during group scenarios, and will never leave an innocent behind. So the group scenarios thing is, because he's a one army considered hero, he takes mission briefs very well. He listens and absorbs very well. If you want him to do something, give him the things he needs to do 100%. His mission scores to the superhero guild, they fucking love Bazarin. They never take Bazarin for granted. They know his worth, and they will send anything to him that absolutely needs to get done perfectly. Bazarin will do that shit. negative characteristics. Even though he can survive on an empty stomach for days without losing endurance, power levels, or power output, he tends to communicate less and less while hungry. And then the background and current information. Origin. Just didn't seem like there were enough characters for the major parts of the story. Adding the frontline characters eventually developed Bazarin. And then something changed. So working on the Crimson Collective, I was doing all of this stuff, mumbo jumbo, developing characters, developing maps, developing worlds, developing the way of life in the universe, all these other kind of things, the physics of the universe, superpowers in general, all kinds of things encompassing of building a world up for a story. And the 10 characters that I made in the video before I started doing the characterization, they were meant to be the last 10 characters. But me, I have a problem with stop making enough characters for these stories. And I have over 2,000 characters already. So, you know, I'm very addicted to the creative process. And when them two molecules in my head get together and create something, that's nothing but euphoria for me. So making up characters, making up stories, making up plots, making up summaries, making up ways of life, making up the history of characters and whatnot, I live off that shit. I might have a sucky real world occupation right now, but I survive in real life because of my imagination and how much I make up. So Bazarin and them, they were all developed, and then something changed and I made up 18 more characters. So when I was doing chapter 1, I already established this a long time ago that it was going to be 13 characters, and that would be the characters before Bazarin's characterization sheet and before Worley's characterization sheet, right? And I made up those 10 and then those 18. Then I was like, if this is going to be the whole squad on the front line on a brothership, then that's how it's going to be. But things changed, and I was thinking, since the first chapter is going to be a very high important mission that requires nothing but level 5s and omegas to take it on, the bounty board specifically asked Crunch, then Crunch sent out the assemble a team message to everybody in the story, and the characters that said that they couldn't make it because they were in town, so to speak, near Galaxy 13, they said, yeah, we'll do it, but how much time before the mission needs to start? And then the people that can make that timeline, they went, and that's what originally that were the other 12 characters, but now Bazarin and Worley will be involved in it, and Worley is Crunch's best friend, so she go find a way to get over to Galaxy 13 quickly. And Bazarin he's gonna be with Teodra Morris, and he just gonna be in Teodra Morris' spaceship somewhere. But moving right along, birthplace, Sevaclos, Sidon, Lebanon, Mokret, planet Karlazan of Solar System 5, the One Galaxy. Family, Machava, Feni, Jatun, Biomother, deceased. Bakil, Sharik, Loso, Biofodder, 73 years old. Atazev, Biblos, Hakif, other father, 74 years old. Varon, Zyrum, Hakif, little brother, 30 years old. History, Bazarin grew up being happy that his mother is as loving as she is. Happy that his father is as lovely as he is. Happy that his coven designs power the way they does. The way that they does. Go back and do that again. Happy that his coven designs power the way that they does. And happy because he loves how the sun shines everywhere. I'm going to add something there. So structuring that sentence was horrible, and I corrected it, but run that back. Bazarin grew up being happy that his mother is as loving as she is, happy that his father is as lovely as he is, happy that his coven designs power the way that they does, and happy because he loves how the sun shines everywhere. He was born under highly favorable circumstances, then learned that those circumstances needed protecting. Not fretting too much whenever he learned about the bad things of humanity, he triumphed over all bad things and learned that a healthy uppercut can keep him smile, but that can keep his smile. I probably should have read over the history before I did the recording. Sorry. Um, Not fretting too much whenever he learned about the bad things of humanity. He triumphed over all bad things and learned that a healthy uppercut can keep his smile on. Picking up fighting simply increases happiness, because if somebody wants to have a bad time, he'll definitely give it to them. By the time he was 13, he was picking up the spells of the coven he was birthed into, mighty and quickly, proving that he understands that personal will is what will give a super being their own blessings. The Exovalor coven walked him through his ceremony, where he will face the totem and lift it, just like everyone else, ordained into the fold through their words of might and hope, splashed with holy water, splashed with tainted water, splashed with ether water. Then Bazarin accepted his place into the coven, walked to Blissolo Press and lifted it, held it above his head, and thanked Zoray's Sarik Kafim, the man who created the coven. Instead of the mallet doing its usual thing and gradually becoming heavy as 14 tons to humanoid vessels, it stayed light as a feather. When the coven saw that Bazarin, on his 13th birthday, holding the mallet longer than 10 seconds over his head, they all bowed and thanked Zoray's Sarik Kafim for bestowing the next welder of Blissolo Press to this current day and age. The good thing about Bazarin, he has no aggressive ego in his personality whatsoever. He is a very polite gentleman with wild adventurous ways of knowing which battles to take and which battles to avoid. He was simply charming with the way he presented himself and upheld his family's legacy. From the many times of getting his ass kicked to the many times of kicking ass himself, he was deemed a super being to watch out for. Then the drama of looking forward to becoming a hero came full force when he was 17. Witch hunters have a thing for taking down spellbinders who are highly favored by the universe. It's something they are proud of taking away from the universe. Assassination attempts to the dozen, to where Bazarin's happiness was constantly tested, as witch hunters duplicitously sought all kinds of avenues to fuck up his entire life or kill him. They didn't need anything. They didn't need another ultimate spellbinder entering the world, hero, warrior, or villain. They just didn't want it for the safety of all mankind. It was so bad for him that he couldn't walk across the stage for his high school graduation. Barely seen in public, he had to be protected by the coven, but fortunately protected by his peers. He had a very rocky teen life because he wouldn't stop acquiring the forces he thought he needed to be a hero. Bazarin chased might like crackheads chases dragons, full on doing workouts for 7 hours a day of the week to scholastically still being the valedictorian and generally protecting his class while he was the one being hunted. Didn't stop doing that while he was in college and chasing bounties. The superhero guild did the best they could do with him, but with him being able to wield 14 tons of might was seen as a big problem throughout the villain world as well as the witch hunter world. But Bazarin was lucky because he had friends across all galaxies, dimensions, and Edgemere. What was excessively beautiful was the people who didn't feel bad for him, but would mightily help protect his dome. Then enough happened. After the 19-year-olds partied on Crunch's spaceship for 3 days, there was an epilogue brewing, with Bazarin successfully surviving 15 assassination attempts throughout his teen life. The witch hunters turned up about 70 notches, then started going after his coven, a coven that was revered on the good side of the justice system. Regardless, the witch hunters wanted Bazarin to be touched, and the only way they could touch him was by killing off the lesser people of the coven. One by one, the great witch... Correct. Then... Alright. I think I was typing too fast when I was typing up his history. Sorry about that. One by one, the great witch hunters... One by one, the great witch hunt started, and yes, a majority of the spellbinders of this current day and age were hunted. Bazarin and the coven protected their own and others as much as possible. It was scary times during his 19th to 22nd years of living. Then his mother was killed in attempts to get to him. The witch hunter ways of killing is one of the ways that negates resurrection. Bazarin tried real hard for 3 days to resurrect his mother. Hard in the paint for 3 days of unable to reconnect her spirit to her freshly healed vessel. On a radar of power, from the visuals of the satellites that look over the entire humanoid sphere of the universe, Anyone could see the twinkle in Solar System 8 get bigger and bigger for 3 days. As Bazarin was using the yellow moon's actual power to try to get his mother back, in reality, the moon was simply trying to heal his emotional space. The young man was in a horrible headspace but consuming so much power. The witch hunters couldn't take that opportunity to behead him. It was the only time Bazarin took lives. Outside of the building, he was in trying to resurrect his mother. The witch hunters kept waiting for 3 days until he finally gave up when the yellow moon appeared in the sky outside of the window, telling him that his grievance didn't go unheard. Then his mother in spirit form came through to kiss him on the top of his head. He felt her entire being. Then the anger turned from blissful energy to sharp energy and turned into a funnel of disaster. All 70 witch hunters around the building died as Bazarin's personal spirit beheaded the lot of them as he could be seen in brief moments, staring them all in their eyes. Then a handful of leaders that were left were forced to get on their knees as guillotines were created out of magic. All 7 of them were facing each other, bound by so much power that none of their anti-witch contraptions were working. The 7 blades were dropped as Bazarin looked at each man and woman in their eyes before they died. Bazarin's rage was still there until his mother appeared to him again. She gave him one last hug, one last kiss, and said, "Thank you for being my son. Your life will be happy, huh? Your life will be satisfying, huh? Promise me. Promise yourself. You will be like you've always been. You are the best." Run it back. You are the best decisions, choices, times, everything I've ever done with my life. I won't even forget that in my next lifetime. Rodrigo, be with your freedom, be with your joy, be with your love, be with your ventures. You will always be mine and I will always be yours. Kissed them one more time, then hugged them one more time while consuming the rest of the rage he was going through. Then he stood there looking out of the window at the yellow moon. Then she faded away too. Bazarin blew out all of the candles and got rid of all of the ceremonial things needed for resurrection around his mother to prepare her for her cremation. It took a while for Bazarin to return to the happiness the world knew him for, but he did return. Home. The Apples Brigade Block. This is the spaceship of the Exovalor Coven. Strange name, right? It's a trapezoidal shaped spaceship that's size 5 in spaceship range, being half the size of the moon. It has galactic forces level defenses that range from munitions to laser to plasma to energy to spellbinding grade firing capabilities. Half of the ship is candy apple red and the other half is spring yellow. It can house up to 60 families, has several black votes, and has a black acid system. This spaceship has a black acid system because the Exovalor Coven is one of the units around the galaxies that help maintain black holes. Because they are one of the units, they are rarely messed with by pirates because if they use black acid on spaceships, it's over for anyone inside of them. Bazarin lives mostly out of the spaceship, and since he's not the captain, whenever he's done adventuring, it may take him lengthy periods of time to get back on the spaceship during vacation periods as well. Possessions. Blisso Lapres. Fabled as a weapon of mass destruction and mass creation, it was created eons ago in Edgemere, then bestowed on humans of the universe 5 millennia ago. When the Exovalor Covenant was created, this mallet was used as a totem for it. Time began so long ago to eons ago in Edgemere. Lots of things were created by the guys that created that universe. They made zillions of things, from stars to celestial beings to man-wielding items to fire, then gave life to the first millions of guys that created a system of... Run that back. Time began so long ago to eons ago in Edgemere. Lots of things were created by the guys that created that universe. They made zillions of things, from stars to celestial beings to man-wielding items to fire to elements to all of the species that live on the planet of Edgemere. They created for so long, then gave life to the first millions of guys that created the system of life on Edgemere. At one time, there was a nation named Liache. It had the symbol of a mallet, a real deep yellow mallet with midnight accents holding its bulkiness. It was made out of the yellow moon of Edgemere. It was beautiful and weighed 15 tons, but always remained in the spot it was left in. For the longest, on one of the islands of that Cree, It stayed propped up in the soil and always stuck out of a stone that never descended into the ground and always ascended when the tectonic plates shifted soil. No one ever picked it up because the stories of ancient times say it was a incorrected. No one ever picked it up because the stories of ancient times say it was a simple masterpiece that should always be ignored by the mankind of Edgemer. That it did, but 5,000 years ago, a human down on his luck went to the battlefield mallet, went to the beautiful mallet and tried to pick it up. No god has been able to. No goddess has been able to. He, a human who was born on a blip of humanity, lifted it with ease, felt like it had always belonged to him. The yellow moon of Edgemer talked to him and told him he can do whatever he liked with it. The blessing the yellow moon bestowed on him was bestowed on the entirety of the coven he created, as Bliss Soul Oppressed was the totem for the coven. Bazarin was given his own personal blessing from the yellow moon the day it talked to him when he turned 13 years old. Already well versed with many of the coven's younger teachings, but fully immersed in power when he finally touched it and was able to wield it. Lastly, with him being the coven member that currently wields it, he has an enchanted purple ribbon on it that is known widely by the population of the universe, something that identifies as Bazarin. Because he's the only person in his coven that wears a purple cape. Nobody else in the coven wears it. So the purple ribbon, if you see that purple ribbon, the mallet is invisible. If you see it, Bazarin is around. If you see it in the video, Bazarin is around. If somebody's talking about the purple ribbon, they are talking about Bazarin. Now moving along, pets, Daffodil. Daffodil is a space hawk. She has the most pure white eyes and a body of yellow feathers. Her beak is a darker yellow as well as her feet. He keeps her in a private dimension spell during horrendous moments, but always takes her out as quick as possible because she will be his saving grace at random. She is well equipped with resurrecting and invulnerability spells. All she needs is enough room and eyes on him. While in states of invulnerability, she can emit energy bodies of herself that explode on contact after flying fast to her targets. The explosions can be minute or gigantic that would chip away from the invulnerability spell, but makes for pretty strategies if Bazarin commands her or is incapacitated. Abilities. Physical. By the time Bazarin was 15, he was working on hulking his body up so he can take advantage of placing spells on his vessel to unleash them during combat if need be. He was very strategic with his vessel ever since getting the blessing from the yellow moon of Edgemer. He was blessed with so much physical might, endurance, and defense that he thought he should train them to be more superfluous. Fighting against Bazarin is like fighting against a ghost, but even though you can connect to his body, it's like you aren't there. With the fighting techniques of Insane and Krav Maga, he definitely goes dangerously hard in hand-to-hand combat. Making him lose his grip on his mallet may be beneficial, but he has hands for plenty of millennia. You've been warned. Magical flight. Magical abilities. Flight. Uses psychic abilities bestowed on him by spells, the blessing of the yellow moon, and other general spells to fly in all directions. Enchantment mastery. Bazarin is capable of a lot of enchantments to the point he can create spirit weapons. Highly powerful because of the last moments with his mother. He wanted other people to be able to turn their loved ones into spirit weapons so they can always have that connection. It's a peaceful thing that allows for that person to have the safety net of knowing they will be connected to their loved ones until they die. Telekinetic mastery. High training with spell binding allows him to use his powers in the form of telekinetic forces. He can use telekinetic forces without the use of spell binding, from lifting up 3 tons worth of weight, moving space vessels, moving aircraft, in general, pushing others out of the way. He can also create psychic projectiles of various destructive natures. Telepathy mastery. Sharing his own happiness to others is one of his favorite things to do. He loves helping children create an anchor of happiness in their heads so they can easily fight depression, anxiety, madness, and a lot of the unfairness that reality holds. He will put on his psychology head and subconsciously get to work on people if he has to. Majoring in it in college allows him to help people the non-medical way when he has the time. In these instances, He needs spells to make his powers powerful enough to bend minds to more favorable conditions. He unfortunately still can't delete memories or change memories. He will need other power for that. Astronomy mastery. He has access to all space energies known to reality. He has to use spells to activate majority of them, but for a decade he has been able to use star forces at will, most noticeable through star falls or star rising to increase the effect of any astronomical energies he brings to the battlefield or others bring to the battlefield. Alright. It brings to... Alright, I really butchered that one. Sorry about that. Projectile mastery. Bazarin will more than likely use the orbs whenever he's projecting his powers. There are times where he will use a spirit to pierce an armor, or help him open up giant doors of huge mechanized buildings to spaceships to space colonies. All in all, from flare balls to star balls to nebula balls to dwarf balls to gravity balls to vortex balls, he will unleash orbs. And then the existence bending mastery. Bazarin is widely known for increasing the size of things as well as distorting everything within visual range. He has a pristine ability of using very high order spells that require a lot of life force. The reason why he is so muscular and dense revolves around it, so he can use his vessel to power spells that slow down an immediate area, make targets super jump beyond their control, change the color of the atmosphere, make stardust fall, make stardust rise, use incredibly detrimental brain-altering confusion spells, and ruin the sense of sound of everyone in an area. Strategically, he is said to be a one-man army and is usually summoned to be a one-man army. Lastly, he has spells that take a little from him to dupe his own powers. Transformation, none. Weaknesses. Witch hunters are spellbinders' biggest weaknesses. Otherwise, it's other spellbinders that can take his might away. Anti-superpower being material does a number on him as well, but with how he heavily relies on his psychic abilities, his ultimate weakness is anti-psychic materials. Majority of his strategies revolve around him scanning people's emotional spaces so he knows who is really detrimental on the battlefield. Lastly, because he likes to increase the size of the items in his packs, anti-super beam material keeps him from dropping large items on the battlefield as well as their explosive properties. And Bazarin is done. So have one more and then I can start doing character designs and whatnot, but as of right now, Bazarin, I love making up that character. When I was scouting faces for what I thought at that time was the last team. Oh boy, I was looking specifically for Middle Easterners, and I got lucky because but then again I didn't get lucky because I was looking for like a darker skinned Middle Eastern person, but the search engine that day was not giving me what I wanted whatsoever, and I was scrolling for a long period of time, and then I saw the face that I chose for Bazarin, and at that time Bazarin didn't have a name, he didn't have a superpower, he didn't have nothing. I just know I needed a dark skinned Middle Easterner, and then I saw this smiling ass man, and I was like, oh, I know what I can do. Sometimes all it takes is an image, a sound, something happening in the distance, and my brain will quickly make up something. It's very hard to explain because my subconscious is always working. Dreamland is a heaven of a trip. Dreamland is a heaven of a movie series. Dead ass. My brain, the reason why I'm so not entertained, the real world is boring to me, and the way that other people tell stories is so boring to me is because subconsciously I'm always preparing to entertain myself, because even though a show like Happy Endings is comedy. It's not fiction whatsoever. Happy Endings, I can't make up them jokes myself because I don't pay attention to the real world. But Eliza Cooper is one of my favorite actresses, and when I saw her on the show, I was like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this forever. But then I see something like The Magicians, and The Magicians had Summer by Shal on it, and Bishop by Shell. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. I never learned it. But Margot, the character, fucking stupendous. The way that story is told, not stupendous at all. So, even though I was watching The Magicians because of that very beautiful actress, my mind was already doing a fan fiction of The Magicians, making it better while I watched that piss poor entertainment. And this constantly how it is. So when I see something, my brain is already preparing to make up something based off of it. And sometimes some things are just weak. Some music is just weak. Some visuals in real life are just weak. I can paint a very beautiful picture on an empty sky. When the weather is all the way clear and there's no moon coverage, if that sky is pitch black, I'm looking into the sky, I'm relaxing, I'm painting a pretty picture. I don't have to close my eyes to paint a pretty picture, and I just make up stuff. That's what my subconscious does all the time. So when I saw that smiling man face, this whole character, everything from this character sheet just immediately started filling up. And I'm like, there he is. And I was having a good time. But Bazarin, I had a ball making him up because he was just going to be this always smiling ass hero. And and he ended up being with the group that partied on Crunch's spaceship when he graduated high school. And he had all these people and everything, and he was asking people when they were going to be free, and then he was making it so that they can be free. And the 40 other characters that made that party are like family, and Bazarin was in that group. So you have all these different people and whatnot, and Bazarin is one of them, and he just always smiling. Everybody loves him because he's always smiling, always in a good mood. And the only time he was in a bad mood was when his mother was killed. So the development around everything like that, and then how he gets back to being happy, I really enjoyed writing it. But I'm for fucking certain that my characters hate me. Fun times, right? But you'll be getting the notification for Whirly real soon. Until then, keep it peaceful. Mwah.